Good morning, everyone. So today we're going to try things just a little bit differently, and we are going to start in our E.F. Ted Williams History Center down in our collections vault. This is a rare treat and an opportunity to find out, what does Chad have? So I'll work my way down here into what is our collections vault. Here we go now. I know Chad's in here somewhere. Chad, where are you? Oh, there he is. Awesome. I've brought all of Facebook here to learn from you this morning.
Hey, Facebook, come on over here. Let me show you something.
Cool.
Just open it up to the right aisle here today.
Ooh, those are cool.
Yeah, they give us a lot more room, protect the artifacts from the lights, do all sorts of great things. Isn't it fun? To roll along.
You just get to play, right?
Exactly.
So I hear you're going to share some stuff with us today.
Yeah. So come on in here into the aisle here. I'm going to talk about one of my favorite things in the collection here to talk about. It goes by many different names: proprietary medicine, patent medicine, nostrum remediums, or just plain quack medicine. I think it's really important stuff because it teaches us a lot of lessons. How did we go from apothecaries to huge pharmaceutical conglomerates? And really, patent medicines brought us there. They created...
So what is an apothecary? Apothecary is a compounding pharmacy?
Exactly, yeah. So pharmacists would have raw materials that they would compound into, mix together, and create pills, tinctures, all sorts of different things. Basically, patent medicine took out the middleman, did widespread warehousing of medicines. Now, saying it's patent medicine, you think people don't know, like it's not really patented. It's proprietary. It's a secret formula. That was the interesting bit about patent medicines. They made widespread claims, but they didn't have to back up. They didn't have to tell you what was in them. Usually it was a lot of alcohol, a lot of opium, things like morphine, things like that were in a lot of these things.
So these are the things you see in movies that are snake oil salesmen.
Yeah, exactly. And that's snake oil.
Oh, look at that.
It was actually called snake oil. So beware of snake oil salesmen. Now, we didn't have any in the collection, but I had to print up
Absolutely.
an old label. So the other thing about patent medicines is, they made these widespread claims that they didn't have to back up. And for example, eclectric oil, great name. Eclectric oil. Now, it was a combination of alcohol, about 40% alcohol, opium, and chloroform. So
that's quite the combination.
It claimed to cure toothaches within 5 minutes, headaches within 1 minute, everything under the sun. It was external and internal use.
Oh. When is that from, Chad?
This one, so eclectric oil was made up until the 1950s, actually.
Wow.
But in the early 1900s, the FDA was created in part to regulate these things, and that's an important part of the proprietary medicine story. Is that it teaches us the lesson of under-regulation of these things.
Cool. What else have you got up there?
So not many people realize that most soda pops actually started as medicines. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Cola, for instance. And it's really interesting when you break down the name Coca-Cola, it's coming from coca, as in coca leaves, and cola, as in cola nut, which contains a lot of caffeine. And so it was marketed as a remedy for headache. So the combination of coca and caffeine really alleviated headaches. But the problem is it created addiction, which created more headaches, which created more people coming back to get more Coca-Cola. Pepsi, for instance, was marketed as a digestive aid. And so Pepsi, that comes from pepsin, a digestive enzyme that was used in this. And again, cola, the cola nut. Caffeine was just a great thing to have in a lot of these medicines. But so, not all of these things were ineffective. We can thank the patent medicine industry really for bringing us things like aspirin, for instance.
True.
Aspirin would not have been here. It had patent medicine not had its heyday. Another one is quinine. Was really came about in that age. This right here.
Oh, let me back up so you can
Sorry.
pull it forward.
Yeah. So this is a fun little thing. So this is Bromo Seltzer, and Bromo Seltzer was a headache cure. It was headache cure partly because of its main ingredient, sodium bromide, which is a very, very, very potent tranquilizer. And it was known as the best hangover cure ever. This one, luckily enough, comes from the PG Hotel.
Oh, cool.
So,
right here in town.
Right here in town. So, of course, the PG Hotel had a very well-known bar.
It sure did.
And this dates back to, well, these were manufactured between 1915 and 1921. So really early 20th century this dates back to.
So that blue bottle sits on top, and then what, you turned the crank to dispense it?
You turn the crank, exactly. And unfortunately, it won't fit.
Yeah, no,
like
that's
this,
fine.
But you do that, and you can see like that.
And then it would just turn to dispense. So this would sit on the bar, and they would sell this the morning after.
Exactly.
Wow. Neat.
Yeah.
So that's the reason we collect this kind of stuff, to tell these stories.
We tell these stories, and yeah, it's interesting to know what's in your backyard. For instance, these apothecary jars come from another local pharmacy, and this would have been a compounding pharmacy, like you were talking about.
Opium, heroin, belladonna, morphine?
Now, all of these do have medical application, and the belladonna, for instance, is very important for mother seasick remedy. Excuse me.
Say that 6 times fast.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And these medicines, they relied heavily on advertising. So catchy names, catchy packaging. I'll show you in a second some of the almanacs and stuff that we have. Now this was actually credited for winning World War I and II.
Seasick medicine.
Seasick medicine, because people in the Navy who are throwing up all the time, they're not very effective soldiers. People storming the beaches, throwing up, not very effective soldiers.
It might work today.
It might. And the active ingredient in this, hyoscine, is extracted from belladonna.
Interesting. That's neat.
Yeah. Another fun one, pink, and this was actually manufactured in Canada. It was from a Winnipeg company.
Cool.
This is another one that was manufactured in Canada.
Oh, this is the one I shared today on Twitter.
Pink pills for pale people. Basically Epsom salts and iron pills.
Oh.
Right? And these things tell you how people thought about health, right? And which is another very important thing. Back in the days of these patent medicines, health was really thought of as an imbalance. So or blood impurity, you're not digesting things well, right? You know, so you have to balance out your phlegm with your bile, with your blood, right?
So these pharmacists were really early scientists in many ways.
Oh, 100%. And many pharmaceutical companies of today got their start in patent medicine. Here's Eli Lilly. This was from 1940. This was their book that they sent out to doctors. And you'll see that they're still using a lot of the similar terminology. elixirs, inhalants, ointments, tablets and tinctures, things like that.
So this was a supplier.
This was a supplier, and that's really what the patent medicines were. They were suppliers instead of relying on a compounding pharmacy to do these things. This Torpedo Bottle, this is from about 1875 to 1890-ish is when these guys had their heyday. And it held medicinal carbonated beverages. And it was specifically shaped like this so that the cork would get wet and it wouldn't dry out. Because they were finding, again, it's interesting where words come from, pop. Why, have you ever thought about why they call it pop?
No. Why do they call it pop?
The bottles, when they were first manufactured, they were building up too much carbonation, and the bottle, the tops, the corks would just go pop.
Oh, interesting.
And this limited the amount of carbonation that occurred in the bottle.
The bottle's really cool. That looks like a totally different kind of construction for bottles.
Yeah. It would have been glass blown.
Right.
Let's see if I can. I told you I would find you one of these.
You know, what else have you got back there? While you're looking, this is one of our aisles here in our collections, and you can see that there is just so much stuff in here. And this is just one aisle out of many. So as we're working our way through these Facebook Lives, we're going to keep coming back and asking Chad to share with us some other new cool shelf in our collections.
And if you have any suggestions of things that you would like to see, just put them in the comments, because, you know, every once in a while we're not sure. What would people like to see? I know what I'd like to show people. So this is a form of one of the almanacs. And so Dr. Chase had his medicine that he sold, and he was actually a real doctor. But he, strangely enough, he actually funded his way through medical school by selling patent medicine. So he wasn't a doctor before he started selling medicine.
Interesting.
So again, you see, it's really the precursor to an infomercial, right? These little fake stories that are just very much ads selling medicine.
Oh, yeah. Don't let these trying times exhaust your nerves. Now, there's good advice for any time.
And you'll notice a lot of similar language in there. You know, what's wrong with your nerves? Let's purify your blood. Get the bile running.
Well, before I turn you loose to keep working on our exhibits, can you tell me why you're wearing the gloves? That's nothing to do with COVID, right?
No, nothing to do with COVID, although it does come in handy these days, getting so used to this. It's very similar, actually, to why Sabrina was wearing gloves with a lot of the amphibians. Is just the stuff that's on my hands, the oils, the salts, the acids. They're harmful to both our archival material and our artifacts. So to help conserve our artifacts for as long as possible, I wear gloves.
Well, they're good gloves. I like them. Have you got anything else on this shelf you want to share with us today, Chad, or shall we?
One thing.
Oh, what you got?
One more thing I quite like, and this, again, so this is a book from
Let me catch
early
the front
20th
of it.
century.
Guide to Organic Drugs. Okay.
So this is what both patent medicine producers and compounding pharmacists would have used. And so it shows you different, mostly plants and minerals, the properties, what sort of preparation you need to do, what sort of dosage, all sorts of things like that. So again, it's showing you how these drugs came to be.
So it's kind of like a recipe book.
It's exactly a recipe book. And it's funny that you should say that, because along with almanacs, a lot of companies put out recipe books about their drugs.
Interesting. Well, that's cool. And then, of course, as laws change, things like opium and heroin are no longer being used in over-the-counter drugs.
No longer used in over-the-counter drugs. And again, that has a lot to do with the FDA being created in the States, and Canada followed suit to regulate patent medicine. It started with having to show ingredients instead of having, like you'll see, let me see if I can find a good one. Well, this one. So Hires root beer, again, started as a medicine. Medicinal roots, sassafras, sarsaparilla, those sorts of things. Now, when it first started, they wouldn't have to show what their ingredients are.
Oh, but this one does have some
But
on
this does have its ingredients. But if you look at this, absolutely no ingredients on there.
it. Just tells you what to
Just
take it
tells
for.
Exactly.
Interesting. Well, I think things have changed, but at the moment we're all very interested in medicines again, so I think this was a good topic for today.
I like it. Again, it's a fun topic.
It is.
It's fun to delve into the history. It's fun to read through a lot of those old ads, because the more things change, the more they stay the same a lot of the time, right?
That's definitely the truth. So tell me, we're going to do this again, not tomorrow because we're back with Sabrina
Yes.
tomorrow and the critters, and I think tomorrow she and I are doing cave cockroaches and hissing cockroaches.
Oh, the cave ones are so neat.
They are. But you're back up again day after tomorrow. So what are we doing next?
Well, everyone's talking about cutting their own hair at home, so we're going to look at a bit of the history of barbers and barber tools and home hair care.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Chad. I really appreciate you doing this for all of us today.
No problem.
Anybody that's watching that has any questions for Chad or suggestions, as he said, for future topics for What Does Chad Have, just leave them in the comments and he'll log in later today and answer any questions and clear things up going forward. Thanks again for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. here on the Hell Yeah Prince Jar page in order to be able to look to Headkeeper Sabrina and our cockroaches. Take care.